Good evening. I am Marcia Merrins. I'm member of the League of Women Voters of Chautauqua County. School boards play an important and unique role in school district governance and provide a way for communities to have input into local education decisions. It is up to the voters to select the most informed and competent individuals. We are pleased to present our Meet the Candidates Night for the Fredonia Central Schools Board of Education. A candidate forum is simply a platform for candidates running for public office to express their views. As with everything else now, we are learning how to modify traditional in-person debates to virtual ones. Those who have attended our in-person debates will recognize a familiar format, which we can now extend to many more viewers than we could accommodate in a physical space. The world has become very familiar with Zoom, and we're very pleased that the candidates have been eager to join us on this venture. Audience questions have been solicited and collected from the public prior to the start of the event via email or phone. All questions have been reviewed and sorted by a panel of league members based on relevancy. Questions of a personal nature will not be permitted. It is not feasible to take audience questions during this debate. This recording will be posted on YouTube, Facebook, Local Access Fredonia, and our website. And no portion of this Meet the Candidates Night may be redistributed out of context. The League of Women Voters is a trusted political organization that does not support any candidate or political party. Candidates joining me this evening are Courtney Gullo, Erin Marshall, Jillian Domenico, Marieanne Fabiano, and Sheila Hahn. We have not given the candidates questions in advance except for the first one. Therefore, they will respond unscripted, so to speak, so you can see how they can think on their feet. If a question is addressed to a specific candidate, the other candidates are welcome to add comments or replies of their own. Candidates will also be able to rebut or challenge one another, limited to 30 seconds. There will be no counter rebuttals. The candidates will not interrupt each other. I have the authority to pause the proceedings to enforce these ground rules and format if necessary. There will be 1 minute for closing statements. The forum will begin with a 1 minute opening statement from each candidate. Your statement should describe your qualifications for office and respond to the following question, which is, what do you consider the most pressing issue facing Fredonia Central School District, and what would you do to address and resolve this issue if elected? We will begin with Ms. Gullo.
Hello everyone. So I'm currently on the Board of Education. I've been serving since August. So it's been a little wild 8 months that I've been on, which has allowed me to learn a great deal in a short amount of time. Namely, we've worked through the process of hiring a new superintendent. I also was on the interview committee for the new chief officer of curriculum, which was a big role to fill. We worked through the remote hybrid back to school situation, as well as presenting a budget. So I think all of that experience really has me prepared and enthusiastic to continue on. As far as the biggest issue probably would be assessing our kids' post-pandemic learning. We've already had a lot of conversation about that, what we're going to do to address that. It'll start with assessments to see where we are and then make some creative and effective plans to address their needs.
Thank you very much. We'll continue with Mr. Marshall.
Thanks. Well, I just want to say thanks to everyone involved for organizing the debate. It's great to have this kind of thing to get our message out to the community. So my name is Aaron Marshall. I have been a Fredonia resident now for about 22 years. I have 3 children who've gone through or are going through. My oldest graduated last year and really had a tough time with the pandemic, and obviously a lot of our students have. And so kind of jumping ahead a little to answer the number one thing that I'm concerned with, or the biggest pressing issue, it's the return to normalcy. And I use finger quotes because I don't know what the heck that means. But I think Courtney's is spot on when we have to analyze or assess what our students need, and we have to focus on that. And we have to adjust, and whether that's providing additional things for our parents or for the teachers or for the staff at the school, whatever that need is, it needs to be focused on. So a return to normalcy is the single most important thing that we have.
Try to watch the timer because I am, and I will cut you off if I have to. So
Sure.
Please pay attention.
Sure.
Ms. Domenico.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Jill Domenico. I have to be honest, I struggled a little bit with this question in terms of my qualifications. You know, you look it up, 18, check, resident, check. But I can tell you a little bit about what I've done, you know, in order, preceding my decision to run for the Board of Education. My children are in the middle school, the elementary school, and the high school currently at Fredonia. In order to take an active role, I was able to join the site-based team at each of those levels. Because of those memberships, it's in the site-based team is where you meet with administrators, teachers, and parents monthly or bi-monthly to discuss issues. And I think that's really given me a working knowledge of the buildings as an outsider, which I think has been fantastic. Because of that, I've had an opportunity to sit on hiring committees, to be in building committees. I was able to join the reopening committee. So I think those insights have been, incredibly important and have given me some knowledge that led me to this decision to run. In terms of what I feel the biggest challenge facing Fredonia is, am I at the stop point? It says stop, no?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, all right.
I think the next speaker is Marieanne Fabiano. Were you number 4, Marieanne?
I was number 5. It's
I'm
Sheila's
sorry,
turn.
thank you.
No, it's okay.
All right, Sheila Hahn, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Marcia and the League of Women's Voters of Chautauqua County for hosting us tonight. My name is Sheila Hahn. I'm running for the school board because I have a vested interest in the success of our community and our schools. I'm a parent of 2 high school boys, a resident of the village of Fredonia, and a business owner with an active law practice in the village. And I believe that my skills as an attorney, including organizational skills, the ability to read and synthesize large amounts of information, working with a variety of people, and remaining level-headed, will contribute to my success. I see the biggest issue confronting our students as the academic and emotional fallout from 3 semesters of remote and hybrid learning. And as a school board member, I believe my role would be helping to spend our resources wisely to address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Fabiano.
Sure. Good evening. I'd also like to thank the League of Women's Voters for hosting this event. I'm excited to be running for a seat on the Fredonia Central School District Board of Education. I've been an educator for 22 years. I'm running because I am an involved parent, a person of action, and someone who always feels compelled to be engaged and help. I'm the parent of children who attend school in Fredonia, and just like you, education's a priority for me. We've lived in Fredonia for 18 years, and during that time, I've volunteered and served in many leadership roles for many organizations. I'm deeply invested in this community. For me, at this time, Fredonia's technology needs to be updated and advanced. When school closed, the district found itself struggling to help students who didn't have appropriate technology at home to learn online. Additionally, once school reopened, but remote learning was still a necessity, teachers and classrooms were not fully equipped with technology and professional development needed to deliver the best possible instruction. This would be an area that I would like to work on improving if I'm elected to a seat on the Board of Education.
Thank you very much. So now we'll open our meeting to a question and answer format. Remember, each reply will be limited to 1 minute. If a question is addressed to a specific candidate, others will be welcome to add comments or replies of their own. Please remember that rebuttals are limited to 30 seconds and there will be no counter rebuttals. So the first question, in your view, what has the district done well over the last 5 years? We'll begin with Mr. Marshall.
I think the district has done a number of things pretty well. Communication home to parents. I've had a ton of success reaching out and working with instructors. So I have very few complaints on that end. I like what we've done as far as kind of crafting the message about respect and pride. I know a lot of the instructors have sent home pride pennants. My children have received some. It's great to have that kind of feedback and see that there's a relationship being built between the teachers and the students and the staff as well. It's not just that. I'm extremely proud of the newspaper, the student newspaper that's gone on in the high school, the chorus and the band groups, and the elementary school as well, and the sports teams. I think it's a holistic thing. The school is not just a classroom. It's not just the athletic field. It's not just one thing. It's a bunch of things. And that holistic approach is something that I think Fredonia does very well.
Thank you. We'll continue with Ms. Domenico.
Thank you. I would say that something I believe that Fredonia does exceptionally well is engage students. There's so many opportunities for engagement for students, and without student engagement, nothing else can happen. If you look at the orchestra, if you look at the music program, the middle school musical, AP classes, I like the service learning club that begins in 3rd grade for students, establishing that pattern, that habit of giving back to your community. I think that is amazing. Students are engaged that way as well. Science club. I think about unified sports. I think that's something that as a Fredonia resident, I'm so very proud of in our community and in our schools. So I would argue student engagement, and that comes from the teachers and the administrators being so hands-on and wonderful and creative with the students. I understand that there's certainly work to be done, and not all students are engaged, but I think that the options available to our students is something that we can be very proud of.
Thank you. Ms. Fabiano.
Sure. First thing I think we've done very well is maintained our tax base, which has been fantastic. Fredonia is very, very good at hiring exceptional staff that, and I would have to agree with Mrs. Domenico, that keep the kids engaged and really tap into knowing their students. Both my children in the elementary school had phenomenal experiences with those teachers. And you had teachers who really cared about the children and got to know them on a very personal level, and I'm very proud of that. And I also think Fredonia has done an exceptional job with maintaining the programming that they have and also adding to it. There's a lot of options and programs that kids can take, especially now and even in the middle school and going through high school. And I think that's something Fredonia should be very proud of.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hahn?
Thank you. The most recent accomplishments I see of the school district include hiring an excellent superintendent. I've had the opportunity to hear Dr. Z speak on a Rotary meeting Zoom call and was just very impressed with his attitude, his demeanor, the way he brings positivity to his role, and his love of the students. When we pull up every morning and he and the high school principal are outside greeting the students, I think it sets a wonderful example from the top down. I'm pleased that there was no tax increase, or there will be no tax increase with the current budget. And since moving to the district 2.5 years ago with our children, I've been so impressed with the teachers in our district and their focus, the focus of both the administration and the teachers on the whole child, not just their academic achievement, but their emotional health, and preparing them not only for their careers, but also to be good citizens. And I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gullo?
Right. I mean, I echo what pretty much everyone says. So to try to not repeat, I'll focus on a couple of things. The extracurriculars, I agree. And during the superintendent interview process, that's something that stood out to a lot of the candidates, is how many extracurriculars are available at Fredonia. They were really blown away. And it is true, there's something for everyone, and it's a great way to include kids. I have to focus on the unified sports. They presented at a meeting recently, and that bowling program, it was so incredibly impactful and moving. Really makes you proud to be at Fredonia. The basketball season for unified sports is underway now, which is just great. And I have to say hats off about the musical, because for them to put on a musical this year shows incredible dedication from that department. So meaningful for the kids to get to do that this year. So I would say, yeah, that's something we've done great.
Thank you very much. Next question is, how do you envision the Board of Education's role in student programming and curricular decisions? We'll begin with Ms. Domenico.
All right. I see the Board of Education in obviously an advisory role to the superintendent, but also stewards of the taxpayers' dollars. I think that's so very important in creative problem solving. I think that curriculum wise, there are some gaps, if you will, in alignment, vertically, horizontally. I do think that there are so many, like I had previously stated, so many wonderful things happening, but I do think there are more things out there. And if we look at Fredonia, declining enrollment over the last 20 years, I think it is that programming that is going in at solid curriculum, our ESSA score, things like that, that are going to draw families into the area that can build back up that enrollment, because it's so wonderful that we have these programs, but we do need to be able to fill them so that we can sustain them, the AP classes, sports teams, and all of these things. So I would argue that it is the role to provide those opportunities in a way that's fiscally responsible.
Thank you. We'll continue with Ms. Fabiano.
Sure. So I think any Board of Education should want their programming to be top of the line, and that when it comes to offering effective programming and extracurricular activities. So, again, I'm going to agree with Mrs. Domenico, but I really feel that it's the responsibility of the Board of Ed to ensure that what we currently have stays in place. Nobody ever wants to see anything taken away. And you still have to do so while remaining fiscally responsible. And I truly believe that there is a way to do that. And you can definitely do that collaboratively with administration, teachers, and the Board of Education to keep everything going. And of course, I'm always in favor of adding additional programming to enhance the curriculum and to enhance extracurricular for our students, and keep things, just always on the upward, not spiral, that would be downward spiral, always moving upward for the students, and just keeping it positive.
Thank you. Ms. Gullo?
Sure, I would agree that as the board, we kind of want to decide what's our vision, what are we trying to do, what do we want our graduates to look like, and then try to build curriculum and programming around that. And that means a lot of different things for a lot of different kids. So it's got to be pretty versatile, pretty agile. We can't go one track, because our kids don't do that. So I think we have to really be receptive, listen to our community, our students, our teachers. What are we trying to do? And then try to provide and be supportive of what's needed for that. Staff, technology, time, what is it that they need to make those things happen, so we can produce a really successful graduate in whatever they want to do.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hahn?
Thank you. Well, I think it would be wonderful to build up the leadership of our students. Perhaps I would love to, if I am on the school board, introduce the idea of having a student who would be either appointed or elected to serve as a student non-voting member of the school board. I think we already promote leadership so much in the students that would be a positive. Any way that we can give students power. So also with enhancing our relationship with SUNY Fredonia. SUNY Fredonia has a technology incubator. These kids at our high school are so technologically adept, and I feel like we could be giving them more opportunities. One thing that occurred to me was perhaps having them team up with SUNY Fredonia to create an app that would make it very streamlined for them to apply for scholarship opportunities through our local nonprofit organizations. So just empowering students is really my focus.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you very much. Next question is, what has the district done poorly that you would change?
Marcia, I didn't get a chance to respond.
Oh, I'm sorry, Aaron.
But all right,
Sorry.
I'll be quick.
I wrote you down before I called on you. Sorry.
I see the board as pretty much the captain of a ship, not concerned with the weeds, don't get into the weeds, but rather to set the direction, determine where the destination is, what's the destination, and then let the players that are part of that team, all the people who are on that ship, let them all play their role. And it starts with the superintendent and with all of the instructors and the support staff, and it goes right down through to everyone, to every single person there, parents included and students included. So, and to echo what Sheila said, the idea of a student in a leadership position on a school board is a fantastic idea. I've been part of the leadership development program at SUNY Fredonia for years, and it's a great opportunity for students. And just remember that we take what we set our direction from the community and from what we determine is best for our students.
Thank you. I apologize again for that.
No problem.
Next question. What has the district done poorly that you would change? We'll begin with Ms. Fabiano.
Oh, I was glad Aaron wasn't asked his question because I was trying to think. And quite honestly, and I'm speaking really from a parental perspective on this question, I cannot think of anything that the district has done poorly. My kids are happy, they're well balanced, they're well educated, they are getting the academics that they need, they're participating in extracurricular activities. I really can't think of anything that has been poorly done. The only thing that I would encourage is a shared decision-making team. We have one at my school that I participate on, and it's my understanding, I know there's a site-based team, but I think a shared decision-making team would be something that could be very effective within the school system, and I think that's something that could be advantageous for all members of the school community. But otherwise, really, Fredonia's done a great job.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn.
Well, I too am hard pressed to come up with something that I would consider a failure. I know I have spoken with some community members who are in less advantageous, I would say, situation than for example, my family's in, and they did have some trouble getting access to the technology for the remote learning. And I think perhaps the hiring of the new middle school guidance counselor is going to help with some of those issues between the school district and families. And the only other thing I would say is, I thought it was a bit of a missed opportunity with the small business revolution. I think a better partnership between the schools and the rallies and the excitement and the community spirit during that time would have been great, in terms of, instead of just student council, maybe having all the students march in a parade down Main Street. I would have loved to see that. Thank you.
We'll continue with Mr. Marshall.
Again, to echo what has been said so far, I'd be hard pressed to say anything that I think is an abject failure. Just something personal that I've always wondered about, and I know this kind of runs counter to what I just said. School board doesn't get into the weeds, but my oldest, when she was going into 4th grade, decided she would take violin. I lied, cello. A string instrument. I'm a percussionist, wanted my child to become a percussionist like my father and my grandfather. And once she did that, we were told that if you played that instrument, you couldn't go back into or you couldn't go back into the band, the wind ensemble the next year, which irritated me. I don't get that. So encouraging music, we have such a phenomenal music program. So encouraging students to get in, and I guess I'd have to talk to people I don't understand in the weeds, but why we can't switch around instruments and encourage students to just fall in love with music rather than sticking with one particular instrument to get started. That's really about it.
Thank you. We'll finish the line of questioning with Ms. Gullo.
I mean, our kids have received fantastic education. I completely agree with a lot of the positives, but I think that, for instance, the start of this school year, the communication was not good. And I think that left a lot of us as parents wondering what was going on, why were the plans changing? So I think that at that time, communication could have been much stronger. And although maybe the outcome would not have been any different to where maybe the kids would have still started remote, at least we would have had a little bit better communication. So I think that that was a real focus for us. And I agree with Sheila. I think that the new superintendent, Dr. Z, is doing a great job with communication. I love his weekly updates. So we're correcting that, which is huge. I think a sense of unity to include all the buildings could be improved. So hoping to get, that school spirit, that sense of pride all the way through all of our buildings. I think that's something that we probably have a little work to do on.
Thank you very much. By the way, you're not obligated to fill up the minute. If you have a 1-sentence answer, it works fine for all of us, right? Because we're going through all these questions and sometimes the answer is relatively simple, like, what is the current per pupil spending rate and what does that mean? We'll begin with Ms. Hahn.
I don't think I answered the last question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Do that again.
No,
I'm sorry, Jill, please.
Oh, no, that's all right. I would really echo what Courtney said with communication in the beginning of the year, but I too have seen so much improvement with the new superintendent coming on. And I also understand that the beginning, it was tough. I think people were very reluctant to share information because it was constantly in flux. But I do think that with any district, any organization, always increasing transparency, increasing communication, increasing, openness, people feeling comfortable coming in and giving their views, discussing, feeling welcomed at board meetings, feeling welcomed at, site-based teams. And like Ms. Fabiano said, I like shared decision-making. I think the site-based team is Fredonia's version of shared decision-making, but to grow that. And so that people are aware and other people can communicate and be a part of that in a more meaningful way. And that speaks to really what other people see as meaningful, right? So that they feel that their voices are being heard. So again, I can't identify a failure, but I would say that's something that can always be worked on.
Sorry about that. 5 people is almost too much to handle on the screen sometimes. So what is the current per pupil spending rate and what does that mean? And you've all had a chance to look it up. So Ms. Hahn, do you have an answer or?
So the per pupil spending rate is currently, from what I can see here, approximately $16,000 per student, $18,500 for the high school. And I'm not telling you this from things I know inherently. I'm reading it off the internet. It includes instruction, administrative costs, and all other spending. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it.
Then you all don't have to answer because it was off the internet, so there's no discussion about that. All right, so we'll move on to the next question, unless somebody wants to add something to that.
No, thank you.
What is the one, emphasize one, most important thing that you would be, what is the one most important thing that you think you would be able to influence as a member of the Board of Education? And we'll begin with Ms. Domenico.
Thank you. I would argue that I could influence opportunities for students. As I stated earlier, I do have students in each building, which has given me a great window into what goes on. And my kids have been able to experience different programming at different levels. And I've also seen that change in my role as an educator in Dunkirk. In my school district, I see a lot of programming. I see a lot of things that we offer and other districts offer, in partnership, that I think could come to Fredonia. I look at the seal of biliteracy. I look at the upcoming civics seal, which I'm really hoping is something that can come to Fredonia. It's a pathway and it's a seal, a distinction that our students should have an opportunity to obtain. And it is cost effective, these things are. So I think I could offer some input there that would be helpful.
Thank you. Ms. Gullo.
I don't know that I have, any particular thing that I want to influence other than just being a thoughtful listener and decision maker. However, I guess if I were going to pick some programming, I do think one thing we're lacking is just a general life skills, citizenship course. Maybe if it's only 5 weeks for seniors. I just showed my coworker 2 days ago. He's 22 years old, and I showed him how to address an envelope. So I'm thinking that we're missing. He did not go to Fredonia, but I know that my kids are the same. So I think we're missing the boat in just some basic 5 weeks. How to be a good citizen, respect your community. Write a check. How to vote, how to be an informed voter, how to listen to the news, those types of things. So I think that would be very important for today's graduate.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall.
I think if I understand the question correctly, the thing that I would kind of encourage or would focus my energies on would be to get every single student to realize that they are a leader. There's leadership opportunities in everything. You don't have to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever to be a leader. Leadership takes place in every aspect of daily life. And so that's something I would encourage us to look at. Having just went over how to balance a checkbook with my daughter, I would also encourage life skills. That's a very important thing that I think we're missing.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn.
Well, as I was reviewing the district website and policies in preparation for my run for the school board and for this forum tonight, I did come across and read pretty carefully the district office code of conduct. And I saw that the last time it was adopted in June of 2001, the last time it was revised was in 2018. And in reading through it, I realized that it really could use a review at this point. And I saw some language in there that was ambiguous. And I think I could really be of use in helping to tighten up the language and make it a more effective document if it's ever used in any way, God forbid, against the district by someone, for example, a student who's been disciplined. So as an attorney school board member, I would love to be on the policy committee tasked with collaborating with my colleagues on updating that district office code of conduct. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fabiano.
I would like to say that for me, what I could work on and influence is relationships. Hands down, anybody who knows me knows that I'm a people person. I am really good at helping de-escalate situations. I am very good at bringing people together, and I think the community really respects and desires transparency from the Board of Education, from the school district. And I believe, assuming all positive intentions, that everybody working at the Fredonia school is always doing what is best for children. And with that in mind, there is really no reason why we can't all work together collaboratively to build relationships, to build communication, to improve transparency. And I really feel that if I were a member on the Board of Education, I could help facilitate those conversations. It's something I really am very good at.
Thank you very much. Our next question is, as a member of the Board of Education, do you believe there is a conflict of interest if a relative is seeking employment or is employed by the Fredonia Central School District? We'll begin with Ms. Hahn.
No, I think the way the rule is written is appropriate, and that is if you yourself are employed by the district, that would not be appropriate. I do not have any personal or professional opposition to a family member of someone employed being on the school board.
We'll continue with Ms. Gullo.
I don't. I do have a couple, or at least one employee of the district, my brother-in-law, but no, I don't. I mean, I agree. I think that as a professional, you know, everything is considered separate. In my workplace, I'm a pharmacist. I work with discretion, confidentiality, privacy all the time, and it's completely separate. No conflict of interest.
Ms. Domenico.
I would agree. I believe that, you know, there can be conflict of interest anywhere. I do think in those cases there should likely be transparency, but I would echo what Courtney said, you know, professionalism, separation, that's going to be imperative no matter what. And being that we are such a small community, those relationships are going to exist, whether it's, you know, friends. I mean, every single one of us has children in the district. So like I said, being a small community, those things are going to exist. I think transparency is key.
Ms. Fabiano.
Well, of course, I absolutely have to say no. I'm obviously, you know, that my husband is a teacher in the district. And I will tell you, I am currently the co-president of the union at my school. I am very equipped with remaining confidential. I deal with a lot of confidential issues at my school. And believe it or not, I don't discuss those with my husband at home. We try to keep those things separately. So no, maintaining professional separation is something that is and can be done. And I think it's okay because, like Ms. Domenico said, we do live in a small community, and it's really hard not to be related to or know somebody who works in the building.
Thank you very much. Mr. Marshall.
Not much I can say that hasn't been said, so I'll just say ditto.
Okie dokie. Sounds good to me. Our next question. What is your picture or vision of a Fredonia graduate, and how will your participation on the board impact that vision? And we'll begin with Ms. Fabiano.
Well, I'm also a special education teacher, and I know firsthand that all children learn differently. So my picture of a graduate from Fredonia is someone who is well-rounded and is ready to face the world and be a productive member of society. And so our job in the school district is to facilitate that learning, to help children by, this is a buzzword in education, differentiating instruction so that everybody gets the education that they need. And of course, the main goal in curriculum is to have kids career and college ready, but not everybody is going to go to college. And so we need to prepare those children for those who are going into the workforce, the armed services, or going to learn a trade. We just want a really well-rounded, versatile child who's leaving our doors and entering the world.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
I agree with Marieanne. It's a student who's prepared for all aspects of life to the best of their ability. So the education that we provide them should be geared to what they can do, what they can handle, and push them a little, of course, but not every kid is going to college. Not every child is going to go pursue a graduate degree or become a doctor, right? We need skilled trades. We have wonderful programs at BOCES. Just preparing those students to take advantage of what is in their best interest and what they can achieve.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn?
My vision is similar to what the others have said. It's that every child grows up to be happy and productive. whether that is in a skilled trade or in college. I think my real hope is that every child know that they are unique and they are special, and it's not dependent on what their grades are or what path they pursue. I read a quote from Darren Brown Hall, the new superintendent of Williamsville schools, that really spoke to me. Throughout his career, he sought to teach his students that there is strength in difference. And he says that you cannot fully appreciate someone as a person until you appreciate what makes them distinct. And that's the quality I would like to see in our graduates.
Thank you. Ms. Gullo?
Yeah, I agree with honestly what everyone said, so as to not repeat. I would add whatever path they're going, there are certain soft skills that everybody needs. And I think, you know, we all have the kids with the hand or the heads in the phones. So I think focusing on communication and the art of a conversation, those are things not to get lost in the shuffle with the academics. So again, maybe that could be included in the old 5-week course where they're balancing their checkbook, and they could learn some of those. Communication, I think, is going to facilitate whatever path you're on. If you're going to work, if you're going to the armed services, to college, being able to have a conversation, advocate for yourself, ask questions, find someone who can help you. Those types of skills are really important, whichever direction you're headed.
Thank you. Ms. Domenico?
I would agree with everything that's been said, those soft skills, success skills, promptness, respect, advocacy for yourself and others. I do think one thing that we could work on as a district, as a community, as my children grow older, I think it's very challenging to expose them to what these different pathways are. You know, living in a small community, you only see certain opportunities. So I think looking at these skills, but also showing the kids what's out there, what careers exist. And we know that many of the things that they'll choose to do don't even exist yet. But what kind of programming do we have that exposes them to different career paths? Do we look at salaries and what that can buy you? What's your quality of life? What suits you? Things of that nature. Where do you want to live? How do you want to spend your time? And like I said, what opportunities are out there? I mean, kids only come in contact with certain professions on a daily basis. Teachers, perhaps police officers, people in the medical profession, some, you know, people in retail and in restaurants, but they don't see a lot of these high-level, successful positions that can contribute and make the world a better place.
Thank you. I think I got everybody this time. I hope so. Next question is, do you support tenure for teachers? Mr. Marshall?
Tenure for teachers, do I support that? I think I do, yeah. There are a lot of wonderful instructors. I think that is a device that can help ensure that you keep wonderful instructors in the district. I spent the better part of my career, I spent 20 years at Fredonia. I'm honestly not familiar with the tenure system and the differences between the school district and the college, but my experience is that tenure thing is a buzzword that gets a lot of negative attention from time to time. I think we need to look carefully, and it's on the people who are granting that tenure. If you're in a leadership position in that school and you're going to grant that tenure, that person needs to be worthy of it. And making sure that the person who grants that is aware of that and takes all factors into consideration.
Thank you. We'll continue with Ms. Fabiano.
Oh, my answer is going to be short and sweet. I absolutely agree and think that there should be tenure for teachers. I think that's how you retain your most exceptional staff. And I know that the path to getting tenure is rigorous. There is a lot of evaluations, at least 2 a year, announced and 1 unannounced. So the teacher really has to prove him or herself in the classroom. And once that is solidified and they've earned tenure, means you're lucky enough to keep that teacher and retain the very best.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn?
Yes, I do support tenure. And just in terms of what tenure means, to me, it means that a teacher is granted due process, that they have a right to know why a discharge is being sought in the event that they are being discharged by a school district, and a right to have the issue decided by an impartial body. So for sure, and I do think that teachers, they generally, I believe, in public schools in the US prove themselves over a period of about 3 years before they're given tenure, and by then they've proven themselves and that they can do the job and produce the results. And I think supporting our teachers is definitely one of the most important things we do as a school district.
Thank you. Ms. Gullo?
I also support it, and I echo what everyone has said. I would just add that, if you do the hard work on the front end in hiring and really doing the work then to be pleased with who you're bringing in, you're probably going to have much better luck right from the get-go. So I do support it, and I think it is worthwhile to put a lot of time into your hiring process.
Thank you very much. Our next question.
Oh,
sorry.
It's okay. I would agree. I think that absolutely I would support what Courtney said in terms of a rigorous hiring process. And again, I think part of that is Fredonia maintaining the reputation that it has as a place where people want to send their children and therefore people want to work and live. I think that's important. And I think a lot of this comes down to communicative and transparent leadership. Absolutely, people have a right to due process. And I think that having active and mobile, really, administrators that are in and out of classrooms and have a handle on, what's going on in their building and are having conversations with people, I think in that when those things happen, it's absolutely an asset.
Thank you. I apologize for that.
It's okay.
Not quite with it today. So next question. What are 3 questions you would ask a candidate for superintendent? And what would you hope to learn about the candidate from the responses? And we'll begin with Ms. Domenico.
All right. I would first ask them why they want to be our superintendent, because I think you can elicit a lot of really important information from that response. I've been a part of several superintendent hiring committees in my own position, and oftentimes you can tell what research do they have, what passions do they have that align with what we're doing. I would talk with them about creative programming. How have you used a little to get a lot, right? When have you used your resources to the best of your ability that's afforded kids opportunities without being a burden to taxpayers? I would also ask them what their experience is with curriculum and programming, because I think that superintendents have to have such a large skill set. And there are other positions too, because oftentimes you can find this out by asking them what support staff would they need? Is there strength in curriculum or is there strength in business? Is it in both? Is it in personnel? So those are the 3 things I would ask.
Thank you very much. Ms. Hahn?
Well, I certainly hope that doesn't mean we're going back into the superintendent search. If I were in that role, I would want to know whether the prospective superintendent has experience in managing people. Sometimes a school superintendent comes from another superintendent role, or sometimes from the role of principal of a school, or from another role. So I would want to know that they have that experience in managing daily operations within a school. I would want to know if they're going to be active with our community, actively participate in attending extracurriculars and really supporting our students and our community. And then I would just want to know about what their philosophy is on education and children. Do they believe in the whole child theory of academic and citizenship?
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Gullo?
I would want to know their communication style amongst teachers, staff. I would want to know what their goals are with curriculum and along the lines of education philosophy, like Sheila said. And I would also want to know how they handle conflict and conflict resolution.
Thank you. Ms. Fabiano.
Sure. So knowing that Fredonia is a very tight-knit community, and the history that we've had with the superintendents, we had Mr. DeFonso for almost 20 years. And then Mr. Sortisio was only around for about 3 or 4. I could be wrong, but I know it wasn't a very long period of time. So my questions would be, and I wrote these down while the other candidates were speaking, what do you know about our community? I think it's very important that a superintendent coming into our district knows about Fredonia. What plan do you have for communication? And I know Courtney spoke about this, to the faculty and staff, as well as the community. Again, I speak a lot about transparency. I know that it's important and valued. And then my final question was, what is your long-term plan in this position? Again, I refer you to Mr. DeFonso, who was around for so long, and then Mr. Sortisio, who didn't stay quite as long. I think this community really wants and deserves a superintendent that stays.
Thank you very much. I think some of you touched on this, but I'm going to ask the question. How should teacher...
Sorry to interrupt again.
Did I forget you again? Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, now you have to make sure you do everybody twice. You have to forget twice.
Please.
Just real quick, 3 simple questions I think I would ask. I'd want to know their conflict style, conflict management style. I think it's super important. Their ability to lead. What is their leadership experience? Have they been in a classroom recently teaching? You know, what do they bring as far as the leadership style? And then to kind of get at what everyone has said about community engagement, I might be so bold as to ask, would you live here in this community? I think if you're engaged in the community, if you're here every day, and I'm sure there's a lot of bad that goes along with that. You can't run to the grocery store maybe without hearing from somebody who's got a problem with something. But if you're here and you're an invested member of the community, it's a great thing for everybody here.
I think I got everybody now. All right, next question. How should teacher performance be measured? What are some of the challenges inherent in evaluating teachers, and what training do school leaders need to perform teacher evaluations? That's a loaded question. I don't know if you can get it all in 1 minute, but we'll start with Ms. Fabiano.
Sure. So right now we use the APPR, which is the annual professional performance review. And it actually is, it works very well. I'm going to speak in terms of how it works at my school. Again, tenured teachers receive 1 announced observation and 1 unannounced observation. And then there's a percentage that relies on the scores of the tests. And I'm sorry, I think I'm missing part of the question. What?
Well, there were 3 parts,
Yeah.
and it was, should they be measured? What are the challenges in measuring evaluations?
Okay,
What do
I'm sorry.
leaders need to perform the evaluation?
I'm not an advocate of tying performance solely to tests. So I appreciate that it's just a percentage of the score. I think you really need to see teachers in action, see what they're doing, how they relate to students, what kind of instruction they're giving. And definitely there should be training. And I believe that administrators take courses on how to evaluate teachers and do those kinds of evaluations. My time is up, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Ms. Domenico.
I would agree, APPR is what it is and it's a mandate. I believe that so much of it though comes down to engagement and relationships. Not only is the teacher engaged with their class, their content, their professional responsibilities, the community, the school's values, but also with the administrator out there and engaged in witnessing these things, because an evaluation and test scores are often, that one snapshot, and it's not the day-to-day. I think so much more comes from that day-to-day and just from that engagement, from that conversation, from conversations, from support, from knowing your staff, from knowing your students, and from really knowing your values.
Thank you. We'll continue with Ms. Hahn.
Well, Well, I am not a huge fan of teaching to the test, so I'm glad that student performance on tests is not the only or even main indicator of teacher performance. And the other thing is, I think that there's a role here for student evaluations of teachers. I think that students probably have a lot of insight and are capable of evaluating what's going on with their teachers. And I think we probably don't elicit that feedback. The students come, they graduate, and they go, and we never really do an exit interview. I think it would be interesting to know what they have to say. But by and large, the teacher's performance is not determined or evaluated by the school board. It's the principal of their school, the superintendent, and it's really not our role to get into the weeds on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
So I think it was a three-part question. Should there be some kind of assessment? Yes, absolutely. Are there challenges? There's a million different complications to assessing instructors, but that doesn't mean you don't do it. I know there are some state mandates, and those are things that we have to do. Instructors should absolutely have some responsibility for the end game or the outcome of the students. Are they learning whatever the material is? But also, to echo what Sheila said, when I was an instructor at the university, every semester I received written critiques and a spreadsheet of what my students had to say about my performance as an instructor. And there is an absolute opportunity to have our students do that. You know, maybe not second grade, but once we're in high school, I think a lot of those students are mature enough to be able to offer valid criticisms or valid constructive criticisms or good things to say about their instructors.
Thank you. Ms. Gullo?
Right, so everybody's really hit all the points, and it's all right on. You know, it's just not an industry that you can, like mine is, very clear expectation, and it's much easier to assess performance, and teaching just is not like that. I really appreciate the teachers saying that it just isn't. I like the engagement piece, that it's really should be measured in part by engagement on the students. Of course, there has to be some form of hard and fast, you know, is the material being taught, but I really like, Sheila, your point of evaluations, and they go to college and students give evaluations. Why not start that earlier? I think it's most important that teachers are engaging with their students, and maybe there's some way to measure that, because I think that is where it's at.
Thank you. Our next question is, in what ways would you reach out to the business community to build their support for quality public schools? We'll begin with Ms. Hahn.
Well, I have given this some thought, and I strongly believe in a partnership between our school district, SUNY Fredonia, local nonprofits, local business. I know in the past there have been internships with local business. Former high school student Seth Hannum, a wonderful graduate of our high school, interned with our former mayor. I would love to offer that through my law office. And I know other business owners and leaders in the community would as well. And with the nonprofits, I think there's opportunity there. I know that I would leverage my relationships with as a member of the Rotary Club, and as a member of the voting member of the Northern Chautauqua Community Foundation to really cement and improve and build on those relationships.
Thank you. We'll continue with Ms. Gullo.
I agree. I fully support it. I know there are some internship experiences that are still happening this year, but I'm not sure how many of those were canceled due to the pandemic. But I agree. It's a fantastic experience for kids, actually getting hands-on look at what opportunities are out there. And Jill, like you were saying, I mean, getting your eyes on a different career that maybe you didn't even know existed. So I fully support it.
Thank you. We'll continue with Mr. Marshall.
I think, this is where being in such a small, tight-knit community really has benefit. between the instructors, members of the staff at school, the board members. We all know everybody. Everybody knows everybody, so we can leverage our relationships that way to make inroads, whether it be for internships or field placements or building, leadership programs with the college or any parts of the community.
Thank you. Ms. Domenico?
I think this is something that absolutely needs to be done to expand our opportunities. I think there's so many creative ways to do it. Internships, but also presentations. I know I work with a group of freshmen, so we're oftentimes inviting people in and going places, and corporations and businesses, manufacturers are so eager to get into our classrooms and talk to our kids when they're young. We went to the college and talk about harnessing that. We were very fortunate that the president and Dr. Givner had us in, and it was interesting because the kids came away with an understanding of college administration as a career opportunity and the potential for economic opportunity in those positions. We work with NCCF, the Community Foundation is a nonprofit, and I think there's creative ways. We workshop so much of our writing pieces in that way. So we were able to have the board come in hands-on with our students and workshop their writing pieces. I think there's so many ways to do this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Fabiano?
I think this is one of those occasions where I'm at a disadvantage for going last because everybody has really stated everything that I would have
Trying
said.
to put everybody in that position once.
Of course, no. But I would like to reiterate something that Courtney referred to a couple of questions ago, and that was the life skills class that she was referring to, and teaching kids those skills that they need to advance and be ready to be productive members of society. So I think that involving businesses, for example, local businesses that are just starting in our community can come and talk to the kids about how they start their own business, what a business plan looks like, what you need to get off the ground. And that goes back to securing finances, being able to organize your finances and what organizational skills you need. So I definitely think that there's a way to incorporate the community and small businesses and have them be more involved with the school district.
Thank you.
Yep.
Another question. Please discuss your view of the Board of Education's responsibility to maintain and build relationships with faculty and staff. We'll begin with Ms. Domenico.
Thank you. I think that encouraging presentations and things, I really like that Fredonia does that so much. It seems like almost every month, and sometimes I've been there just as someone taking in the board meeting. Sometimes I've been there with my own kids. I think that's a great thing that does happen in Fredonia. The music department presents, Unified Sports presents, teachers present on curriculum, on special projects, service learning presents. I think that's a great way to start, just having those face-to-face interactions. I think we're at an advantage already because we are such a small community, but I think that would be a great it is already happening, and if it could happen more, I think that'd be even better. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll continue with Ms. Fabiano.
Sure. So I'm thinking of this questions in terms of what I would like to see from my own Board of Education. And what I was thinking about my first steps as a board member, if I were to be elected. I talked about relationships before, and because that's something that I really do consider one of my strengths. The first thing I would do, it would be to reach out and go meet all of the faculty and staff. It would take some time for me to do that, but I would definitely want to do that personally. And I want people to know within the district and even within the community that I'm available, I'm approachable, and I really do respect transparency, and that's going to be the way that I conduct myself again if I'm elected.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
So maintaining or building relationships with staff, it does take time. I think that it begins by just an introduction, letting people know who we are, what we do, and obviously all the instructors should know that. But then step two is allowing access, and they have to know that we're approachable as a board. I think, as Jill said, every board meeting that I've ever attended, there has been a presentation, there has been an instructor, a musical group, there has been something going on. Keeping that going just continues to build the relationships that are in place.
Thank you. Ms. Gullo?
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that everybody likes the presentations because there's going to be more next year because it's something that we all really have said we'd like. So we're working on a schedule for next year that will include pretty much every department in the school, because it's the way that the board gets to see what's happening. And the truth is you don't really get in the weeds. So you miss out on a lot of the day-to-day, and it's a fantastic way to get our eyes on what's happening. So we love the presentation as well. So there are going to be many more. But along the same lines, I want to be approachable. I want to walk through the halls and get to know everybody and see what's going on in the classroom, because that's why we're all sitting here tonight.
Ms. Hahn?
I just believe it's important to let the staff, the teachers, the administrative staff, the custodial staff, every person who works in that building to know that they are appreciated and supported. During this past year and a half, they, very similar to healthcare workers, have been heroes. And any way that we can communicate to them that we as a community appreciate the sacrifices they've made and the courage they showed in going back into those schools when honestly it was an unknown whether it was safe for them to do that. I just feel like I want them to be appreciated as the heroes that they are.
Thank you very much. One more question before closing. What's one program or service in the school budget would you cut? And what's one new program or service you would add? We'll begin with Ms. Gullo.
I don't think I'm aware of one that I would cut. And I don't know that I would, as a board member, suggest a program. I think I would listen carefully to what the staff members are saying and the building leaders and the teachers. I don't think that would be a decision that I would come up with on my own, or even an idea of what should be cut. As far as what I would grow, I do think that a life skills is really warranted. And, you know, that would really teach some of those soft skills, good conversation, advocating for yourself, how to make phone calls, how to reach out to certain people. I mean, you graduate in June and 2 months later, you're living by yourself trying to figure out how to go to the pharmacy. So I think a life skill course that every maybe junior and or senior goes through would be ideal.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn?
I too am unaware of any program I would cut. In terms of what I would add, I guess I've mentioned before during this forum, and I'll mention it again, I'm very interested in the approach to education that considers the whole child. I know in where we lived previously in Germantown, Tennessee, they actually have a new position that they created in response to the pandemic and the issues with remote and hybrid learning, of someone who is at the district level, and that is what they are tasked with, addressing students' comprehensive needs that go beyond academic achievement and promote long-term development and success of all the students. And I think that that's something worth exploring. And as part of that, I'm always interested in promoting freedom and independence among our students. And if there's any room for more freedom and independence, I'm all for it.
Thank you. Ms. Domenico?
I too am not aware of anything that I would cut. I think Fredonia already does a tremendous amount of good with limited resources. It's amazing. I would say my first thing that I would have said to add for years now would be an additional counselor at the middle school, and it does sound like that's going to happen. The only other thing that I would be curious about is, I believe there's one social worker. What is their workload like? Are they able to meet the needs of the students? just in the face of social emotional learning, the whole child, and the things that students have had to endure, that would be an area that I would ask for additional information on.
Thank you. Ms. Fabiano?
I'm also not interested in cutting anything. I think I really have to agree. Fredonia does a phenomenal job developing the whole child. And as far as adding programs, I think this is something that we could really utilize teacher input with. Teachers know their programs, they know the continuum of services that they provide. So I think proposals from teachers about what they think would be best to come next in their program could be something that as a board member we could listen to and decide, and then input new programming that way. I think that's a great way to get some collaboration and good communication, and again, transparency, working collaboratively together. So definitely I would value teacher input on a question like that.
Thank you. Mr. Marshall?
Yeah, I'm not going to be the one to bring the butcher knife down on any programs. No, no unilateral cuts for me. I think things have been well. I've been impressed with pretty much everything the district has done. As far as the addition of one thing, I guess I would. For me, it's between a leadership kind of program and that life skills. I think that life skills would benefit the majority of students. So focusing on something like that.
Thank you. There will be 1 minute for closing statements. We'll begin with Ms. Gullo.
Well, thank you. Thanks for tonight. This was great to chat with everybody and get some thoughts out there. Yeah, when I joined the board in August, it was baptism by fire. Everything kind of was just really wild. And in that time, it's a really unique 8 months that I've been on. I've learned a great deal very quickly, sitting on several interview committees for the superintendent as well as the chief officer of curriculum. You just really learn a lot talking to that many candidates, and glean some pieces from their experience that could really help ours as well. So that and the budget process, I've really learned a lot. I'm hoping I get to continue on now that some big key pieces are in place. Kids are back in school, which is fantastic. So I would be really grateful to stay on. Thank you very much for tonight.
You're very welcome. Mr. Marshall.
Yeah, I also want to say thanks to everyone involved. Again, this is a wonderful opportunity to be able to share what we think and why we're running. And I am running because I love the community. I love the opportunity that it has afforded my children. This is a way to give back. I would love to become more involved, continue the things I've done through volunteer coaching, working with the students one-on-one. This is kind of the next step for me. So I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to serve on the board.
Thank you very much. Ms. Domenico?
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you for your consideration. I would just like to, I guess in closing, say I think that Fredonia is a wonderful place to raise a family. I think that there's so much great that's being done. I think that there's more that we can do. I think there's certainly challenges that we're going to be facing, but I think with a supportive community, a collaborative board, and the wonderful staff that's in place, and of course the amazing children, I think that there's so much more good work to be done. And I hope that I get to be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hahn?
Well, we moved to this area after spending many years in the DC area and in Memphis, Tennessee, but this was a homecoming because I was born and raised outside of Buffalo, and this is our forever home now. And I believe what I bring to the table as someone who came in 2.5 years ago is boundless optimism and energy. When I see our community, all I see is greatness and opportunity. It's actually out of the places we've lived, we like these schools and this school district better than any other one that we've been involved with. Really, voters cannot go wrong voting for any of these candidates. So I think the important thing is to participate in the democracy and vote, and know that whoever you vote for, you're going to have excellent representation. And I'll just close with something, quote by Toni Morrison, the author. When a child walks in the room, your child or anyone else's child, do your eyes light up? That's what they're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Fabiano?
The Board of Education plays a critical role in determining the policy that will improve the education of our children. We are fortunate to live in a fantastic community that really values education and where it's paramount. If elected as a member of the Fredonia Board of Education, I will ask in-depth questions about policy and programs so that we as a community understand the value that they bring to the classroom. I encourage the proposal of new initiatives to improve the education of our children. I will listen to and reflect the concerns of our community and work collaboratively with fellow board members to continue to keep Fredonia's level of excellence. In our community, we value a top-notch education. We're able to provide that education steadfastly. I'm committed to making improvements and taking our educational system to an even higher level. It would be an honor for me to serve on the Board of Education. I'm excited and I really am ready to do the job. I ask for your vote on May 18th, and I thank the League of Women's Voters again for this opportunity, and it was wonderful to speak with all the candidates this evening.
Thank you. I would like to thank our timekeeper, the Croxtons. There were 2 timekeepers, and the members of the league that organized this debate, Lisa Mertz, Tina Rauza, and Pat Carell. Educating the public about the issues in the campaign and stimulating public interest and participation in this election is crucial to the mission of the league. Although the dynamic was a bit different without an audience, this format still allows voters to learn the candidates' positions on pressing issues that face Fredonia schools and inform their decision on election day. Voting is an essential step in the process of democracy. In exercising our choice for elective office, we affirm our faith in the democratic process. We urge you to take the next step and vote on May 18th. Polls will be open from 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. Thank you very much. Thank you all for stepping up to be a candidate for the Board of Election and for joining us this evening. Good night.
Thank you.